right, so I'm finally here with my first check-in. I haven't gotten very far at all. I'm only on page 14, but I've already tabbed, I've already highlighted quite a few things, and I just got to one of the most iconic scenes in this book. So before I get into what scene I'm in, I just wanted to kind of talk about what I'm tabbing, because I am annotating this copy of Twilight. Let me get my little handy sheet here. So I have my little tabs here. You can pause and look at that if you like. But anyway, so I do have 4 categories here. One being Pride and Prejudice references, because if you didn't know, every book in the Twilight Saga has a very loose inspiration from a classic. So Twilight is Pride and Prejudice, and I will go into more what the other books are in future vlogs. So I do have one for Pride and Prejudice. I have one for favorite scenes. So this is hard because I did want to tab just strictly Edward and Bella moments, but then I thought those are all my favorite scenes. So I'm just gonna mesh them together, and I do have a tab for favorite quotes, which I do have one already. You can see it here. It's from the prelude to the book, so that's exciting. And then favorite quotes, I just said that. And then iconic scenes. So favorite scenes and iconic scenes are going to be 2 different things, which is going to be a little bit hard because the iconic scenes tend to be my favorite, but we're vibing because there are other scenes that are not iconic that I do love. So it's been, like I said, I'm only 14 pages in, but jumping into it, it feels like a hug. It feels like a hug that I needed after just a god-awful week at work. Like, it's been horrific. This was so nice to come home to and just, you know, start losing myself in this story again. So I'm loving it. It's very, I always forget how straightforward Stephenie Meyer's writing is, especially in this first book, because, you know, this is the first book she ever wrote, so I think people are a little bit too harsh on her when it comes to the writing style, because I think it's very easy to lose yourself in this book, and I think that was intentional, but I also think that's just Stephenie Meyer's way of telling a story. So I do really enjoy that. It's what part of the reason why I fell in love with the book in the first place, is because you're able to just fall into the story so easily. So let's talk about Bella for a second. So I'm very acquainted with Bella at this point. It's been over a decade that me and her have been friends. And it's such a stark difference between the book Bella, who's pretty cheeky and very sarcastic, to movie Bella, which is, how do I describe movie Bella? So she's a lot more toned down and more internal, I feel like. It's kind of hard to describe because they are definitely not the same. She's basically, Kristen Stewart is basically playing herself, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I like her take of Bella, but you do get a little bit more personality. I don't want to say that in a mean way because I don't mean it in a mean way, but you do get a little bit more personality in the book. So the scene that we just got to is the cafeteria scene where the Cullens are getting first noticed by Ms. Bella Swan, and I have highlighted most of the page and we're about to get into it. So I'm very excited to delve more into this. This is gonna be such a fun time. I'm just so excited to be home. And I do have a Twilight unboxing that I want to do with you guys, so let's do that real quick. Okay, so I have a package here. Let's open it up. I do have a couple of new Twilight t-shirts because I am in my Twilight era again, and I'm not mad about it. So let's take a look at these real quick, if I can get them out. So, okay, let me show you guys this first one here. It is, let's unfold it real quick. It's a Team Edward shirt. I never had a Team Edward shirt when I was... That's a lie, I did have a Team Edward shirt. Oh wow, that was a core memory unlocked. But, so, I do have a Team Edward shirt with Mr. Robert Pattinson on it. So, we got this shirt. And then we have a good old-fashioned Edward and Bella from the Twilight movie. It says the Twilight Saga. And we have Edward and Bella during the meadow scene. Or the scene that is the meadow, but it doesn't take place in the meadow. But, yay! You know what? I feel like I need to be in attire. So, maybe I should go change real quick. Alright, that's better. So, this was my first check-in for my Twilight reading vlog. And I'm going to go read some more. And I think I'll have, hopefully, more to say in this next one. So, I will see you guys in the next clip. Okay, so we just got to the super iconic biology scene. I'm just having all the feelings. And it's funny because I'm having a kind of a little bit of trouble picturing Edward and Bella right now, because I don't want to think of Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart, because I didn't know what they looked like while I was reading this for the first time. So I did have a vision of Edward and Bella back then, but now, because I love the graphic novel so much, and I'll put a picture somewhere on the screen of what they look like in the graphic novel, but I'm picturing them, kind of, which isn't bad, because I love the way they look in the graphic novel, but I'm just having a little bit difficulty, but since I do have the context of Midnight Sun, which is fantastic, the context of Edward in the biology scene is pretty intense, because, I mean, yeah, we know that he's having an aversion of some sort to Bella, but he's literally, and spoilers for Midnight Sun, I guess, but he's literally having to contemplate whether he's about to commit a mass murder, because Bella's scent is like so potent to him. Like, he's seriously thinking about it, and that's just crazy to me. And if you didn't know, they actually shot this scene for the Twilight movie, but it became a deleted scene. So you can go on YouTube and look it up, I think. But yeah, just so super iconic. I'm just all the nostalgia. And I, of course, tabbed it. You can see my little tab there. So yeah, I'm having fun. All right, so I am on chapter 2 of Twilight. So it's going to take me a while to get through this because I am annotating, like I've been telling you guys. I'm still having so much fun. It's that feeling where you've had a best friend that you haven't seen in 5 years, and you finally get to see them again, and they give you the biggest hug. This is what that feels like. And I know that sounds really dramatic, but it's true. I've been having trouble in my reading life lately. Books just haven't been captivating me or sticking with me. So, and I've been just going through some personal things too. But that's what drove me back to Twilight. It makes me remember why I love to read, and just these characters in this story just really do it for me. It's hard to explain, but I am just in love with this book. Still, after all these years. Sorry, I'm having a lot of feelings. But, so yeah, like I said, I'm in chapter 2, and we've got the first mention of Bella cooking for Charlie. So, if y'all didn't know this, if you haven't read the book, one, why are you watching this if you haven't read the book? And two, something that I really wish we had in the films was that Bella actually cooks all their meals. It's just something that she likes to do. I think she likes to do it. We literally just got one mention of it, so I guess we'll see. I don't remember. But actually, speaking of Bella's cooking, can we just talk about the fact that Renee, Bella's mom, is so neglectful? I highlighted this in chapter 1. There's this whole section of Bella contemplating leaving. Well, not contemplating, because she's pretty she's decided to go to Forks, so she's pretty strict with that. But she goes through this whole thing about how Renee now has Phil, her husband, and so things would get paid. There'd be gas in the car, and there'd be someone to call when she got lost. Like, is Renee okay? Because, and I knew this back then too, but it hasn't really hit me the same way as it has now. But Renee is kind of a neglectful mom. I haven't really thought about her that way, but Bella's definitely the grown-up. So her whole personality of not really fitting in with the other kids at Forks or in her high school actually makes a lot of sense, because Bella had to grow up so quickly because she had to be the adult in the house. And that's just really messed up. I'm really not liking Renee at this point, because that really bothered me. But Bella, I don't know, she hasn't really thought about it in that way. But I don't know, just Renee is just not doing it for me. But Charlie, we love Charlie. And we love Charlie in the films. We love Charlie in the book. Charlie's fantastic. So yeah, like I said, chapter 1 is so iconic. It's our introduction to the Cullens. It's their first interaction with the biology scene, which I just previously talked about. Just that first chapter is just everything, and I'm just, oh my god, I'm so giddy. And I'm so impressed with my annotating skills right now, because I'm pretty bad at it. But I always have a lot to say about Twilight, and I know the story well enough to know what parts I want to highlight, so I'm having so much fun. So, okay, I'm gonna get back to reading, but I will update you guys because I'm having so much fun. Okay, so bear with me. It hasn't been very long since I last updated you. So we had the biology scene where Edward has that, aversion to Bella's scent, and he's gone for a while, and Bella is used to him not being there, so she doesn't have to be so self-conscious and scared to go to class or anything. But he hasn't even spoken yet. I'm talking about Edward. He hasn't spoken yet. But we're at the biology scene where he comes back and they're about to have their first interaction together. It's not like I don't know what the story is, but I'm just having a huge wave of nostalgia because I love this story. I don't know why I'm crying. I really don't, but I feel like I'm 14 again, and I'm reading something that I love. And, just Edward and Bella mean a lot to me. I mean, they're pretty much up there with all my Sarah J. Maas characters. Yeah. I'm gonna get back to reading and stop crying on cameras, but I'm so excited to keep going. I'm excited to get to this first conversation. Okay, I'm just gonna go read. Okay, so I will try to get more varied backgrounds, but this is just my reading spot right now. I haven't been able to update you guys today. It is currently Sunday, August 13th. I'm only a day into my reread, and I'm only on page 56, which is the beginning of chapter 4, at least in the new reprints of the series. So what do I need to update you guys on? So we had the pivotal scene of when Bella gets saved by Edward from the van. Once again, iconic. And then we just have Edward, just gaslighting the crap out of her. Understandably so. I mean, what's he supposed to do? Say, yeah, you're right. I have superhuman strength. I thought you wouldn't notice. But, so that part's exciting. And then I love the little banter that they have at the hospital. Because one of my favorite lines from the movie, or I guess sequences from the movie, I should say, is this little interaction here. I don't know if y'all can see it, but it's where Edward says, "I hope you enjoy disappointment." Yeah, so we're continuing to have a great time. I haven't read any today. I've been at my family's house. So I'm going to read some more tonight, and hopefully I'll have some more information to tell you guys. So, yeah. Okay, so I'm updating you guys quite a bit, but I'm sorry. I just have a lot of feelings and a lot of thoughts. So we have the fallout, if you will, of Edward and Bella after the car accident, because one, Edward doesn't want to tell her the truth, and two, they're both very stubborn, and he doesn't talk to her for like a month. So she, has a new normal of just, seeing Edward at school, not talking to him, and vice versa. But once again, during Midnight Sun, what's going on in his head during all of this. So we get to a scene where Edward does his whole "we can't be friends," and it starts out a very kind of lighthearted conversation, actually, because he doesn't want to hurt her feelings. That's not his intention. But of course, Bella thinks this is ridiculous, which, I mean, it is, but I I understand what Edward's thinking here, but if that's the case, Edward, you shouldn't be talking to her. If you really don't think this is good for her, but we all know that doesn't work. But they have this argument where she says, "You could have saved yourself all this regret," and then Edward goes, "Regret," and he's caught off guard because this was originally like a kind of lighthearted conversation, and she says, "For not just letting that stupid van squish me." And of course, Edward's like, "You think I regret saving you?" And Bella says, "I know you do." And then he says, "You don't know anything." And I could feel the anger from Edward because obviously we know he doesn't regret it one bit. And it's just really interesting because that's one of the lighthearted conversations that we don't have in the movie. I feel like they took the drama, like all of these really intense moments from the book, and turned them up to 11 in the movie. And then we have Bella being clumsy. She drops all of her stuff. And I mean, I don't know if you count this as banter. I'm counting it as banter. It's a very quick scene, but he helps her with her books. She says, "Thank you." Icily is how it's described here. His eyes narrowed. "You're welcome," he retorted. And I guess that's not necessarily banter, but I have it marked in here as banter because I can feel the energy. I don't know. I'm really feeling everything. Like, I just don't understand. People say they don't have any chemistry, and and we're only 62 pages in. I always forget like how quick and how much stuff happens in the first 60 pages, but we're about 3 months in to the school year, I think. And then we have a very funny scene, and it is one of my favorite scenes in the book, and I have it tabbed as such. It's Bella's getting asked out to the spring dance by Mike and Eric, and of course we know Edward can read everyone's minds, so he has this little plan where he's going to cause a traffic jam, and Bella is stuck in her truck behind him, and she gets asked out by Tyler, and it's just a really funny scene because Tyler comes up to her door, and she's like, "This cannot be happening." And then once the interaction's over and she turns him down, it says, "In his rearview mirror, Edward's eyes were on me. He was unquestionably shaking with laughter as if he heard every word Tyler had said. My foot itched toward the gas pedal. One little bump wouldn't hurt any of them. Just that glossy silver paint job. I revved the engine." It's just a really funny scene, and this is the stuff that we didn't get in the movie. And I just miss all of this. All these little like lighter moments are just so much fun. And if the show gets confirmed and they start moving forward with the show, we better get all this in there because I missed this in the movie. But anyway, I've been rambling for 5 minutes. This was supposed to be a very quick check-in, but so we're done with that, and I'll try not to check in so often, but I'm having fun, of course. Okay, so we're gonna try this angle for a moment. We'll see what I think about it. But so I'm a little bit further. I'm about 15 pages, I think, from when we last talked, and we've had more banter between Edward and Bella, and I'm reading the scene where they're eating lunch together for the first time, and that's always been one of my favorite scenes in the saga. And I'm trying not to compare it to the movie very much because the movie is different. But guys, why did we omit so much of these lighthearted moments? Because Edward is so cheeky, or he's funny. Bella's cheeky. She's literally yelling at him in the part that I'm in now for double standards. This scene I'm in is when they're having their first lunch together, and I love it so much. And he has the very famous quote of, here it is. I decided as long as it's going to hell, I might as well do it thoroughly. Which, you know, changed into the movie was, I'm breaking all the rules now anyway since I'm going to hell. And, you know, he has Bella around his arm and he has the sunglasses on. It's iconic as fuck. But I'm just still having feelings. And look, I'm doing so well on my annotating. Like, can we pay attention to that? And I'm pretty proud of this because my penmanship isn't the greatest, but like 2 of my favorite quotes are on the same page. So we have right here, stupid shiny Volvo owner, which is iconic, and then, but I'm tired trying to stay away from you. I'm just having so much fun. If you don't take anything else from this vlog, just know I'm having a blast. I'm having so much fun. And I'm gonna get back to reading now. I just wanted to quickly talk about this scene because I love it so much. And I love it because, again, when you, believe me, rereading Twilight after Midnight Sun gives you a whole new appreciation about some of these iconic scenes. The lunch in particular, I can't wait to reread that part in Midnight Sun. But okay, I'm gonna get back to reading and we'll keep going. Having fun. I like this angle or not. We're just gonna roll with it for right now. So you're getting Chef Tyler now for this part of the vlog. I wanted to make ravioli in honor of Twilight. So if you know, in the book and in the movie, Edward takes Bella to Bella Italia, I think is what it's called. I haven't gotten to that part in the book yet, by the way. I think we'll get there soon. But, and she orders mushroom ravioli. It's kind of like a niche thing in the Twilight fandom. So I'm making ravioli. So but we're making some changes because 1, I don't like mushrooms, and 2, I'm on keto, so I'm not going to be using pasta. So basically, and I'll put the recipe down in the description, but basically you're gonna melt slices of provolone, and that's gonna be your pasta. I'm gonna lift you guys up a little bit. So you're going to be using melted provolone as your pasta, and the inside filling is made with sour cream, Italian mixed cheese, cream cheese, ground sausage, and you're gonna mix that together to make your filling, and then it'll be drizzled with a nice pasta sauce. This is actually vodka sauce from Rouse, which is the best jarred pasta sauce I think that's out there. And it's also pretty keto friendly. There's only 7 grams of carbs per serving. So we're gonna roll with that. I'm gonna shoot some bee footage of me cooking, and we'll see how this turns out. I'm pretty excited. You know what? I never said I was a great chef, but I'm gonna let this cool off and see if I can cut it and kind of make it more ravioli-like. But whatever, it's food. All right, it's been a couple of days since you've last heard from me. I didn't get to read it all yesterday. I got swamped at work, and then I had a birthday dinner to get to, so I didn't have time to read. But I did quite a bit of reading today. I'm on page 160 now. A lot has happened since I last spoke to you guys. I guess we'll just get into it. I have a sticky note that I wrote down at work so I wouldn't forget. The first thing I want to talk about is La Push. So Bella goes to La Push with Mike, Jessica, all her friends from the school, and there she runs into good old Jacob Black. We will definitely get into Jacob as we continue the series. At this point now he's fine, and we'll see if my opinions of him change with this reread. But I have a lot of feelings about Jacob. So we're just gonna move on from that. So basically she hears the stories, scary stories if you will, about the Cullens, because Sam tells them that the Cullens aren't allowed on the reservation. So of course that's not a normal statement. So Bella is trying to think of what the hell is he talking about. So she brings Jacob to the side and kind of tricks him into explaining what he meant. So basically there's a story about the Quilit, I believe is how you pronounce it, elders or ancestors had run-ins with the Cullens, and they are called the Cold Ones, because their skin is cold. So basically the Quilits are descended from wolves, and their mortal enemies are the vampires. So of course the Cullens being vampires, we know this isn't confirmed at this point. The Cullens are vampires, and so by principle they're just enemies. So Jacob explains that to Bella, and it does something. It kind of nicks at her brain for the rest of the day, because nothing that they were talking about explicitly described the Cullens, but she knew there was something off with that. And then she ends up having a dream that night about Edward turning into a vampire and Jacob being a werewolf, which I don't know if Stephanie Meyer intended for that to be some type of foreshadowing for the rest of the series, but I did mark that as foreshadowing because Jacob turns into a werewolf by book 2. Spoiler alert. So we get all that information from that chapter, and then Bella researches vampires within that weekend, and this is actually fun fact. Stephanie Meyer, the only research she ever did on vampires while writing Twilight was to see what Bella would find on the internet. So the stuff that Bella finds is probably what Stephanie Meyer found on the internet back then. So that's really interesting. And Bella does all this research and does all this reflection and then decides that it doesn't really matter what Edward is. She's all in and she's just going to see what happens. And of course, Edward hasn't been in school because the sun's out and they can't go out in the sunlight for reasons. And she gets pulled on a trip to Port Angeles with Jessica and Angela. And there we have the good old saving Bella from the thugs. I don't know if that's what I'm gonna call them. And that scene is always really intense. It's kind of scary. I didn't realize how intense it was back when I first read it. I mean, I was 14. What was my reference, But now that we have a lot of reference now with, the Me Too movement and everything that's come out of that, it's just so scary. And, it's a good thing Edward was there to save Bella from this attack. Basically, Edward follows Bella to Port Angeles, saves her from those thugs. And then we get the very iconic La Bella Italia scene where Edward takes her to the restaurant and she orders her mushroom ravioli and drinks her soda. And they have a really wonderful conversation about Edward dazzling people. And I have this mark because I do love this. She goes, you haven't noticed? Do you think everybody gets their way so easily? He ignores my questions. Do I dazzle you? Frequently. And I don't know, that's just so iconic to me about the dazzling. I wish that was in the movie. Oh, that would have been so fun. Because that's so lighthearted and I just love that scene. And then we get into all the interrogation stuff about Edward basically coming clean about what he is to Bella. And I think most people are critical of Bella just kind of accepting the fact that Edward's admitting what's going on. But Bella accepted the fact that Edward wasn't human a long time ago. So this isn't really a shock to her. This is her getting confirmation, but she already knew he wasn't normal. So to me, it makes complete sense for her to just accept it and move on. So I think that's fine. And then we have the iconic lines of, how old are you? 17. How long have you been 17? A while. I just have all the feelings. Oh my gosh. And then we end the chapter I'm on with Edward drops Bella off at home after their talk, and she has another famous line. This chapter is full of famous lines. The about 3 things as absolutely positive. First, Edward was a vampire. Second, there was a part of him, and I didn't know how dominant that part might be, that thirsted for my blood. And third, I was unconditionally and irrevocably in love with him. So freaking iconic. I remember reading that because it's still on the back of the books now, this whole passage here. I remember reading that. That was my first thing I ever read of Twilight, was the back of the dust jacket. And it had that quote on it. And you had me. You had me. You did. And you still have me. I still have feelings when I read this quote. And I can't wait to delve more into their love story, because is it a little insta-levy? Yes, but I think that's only because Bella's glossing over a lot. And Stephanie Meyer has talked about this before when Midnight Sun came out, because Edward, kind of spoiler alert for Midnight Sun, but Edward is a very detailed-oriented person, so we get a lot more context to conversations and things that happen that Bella doesn't either think is important or just glosses over. So that was a distinction that Stephanie made, and I think that's really important when you're reading Twilight. But I love their love story, and I'm excited to really get get into the gritty parts of it. I might slow down my reading just because chapter 13 is a very, 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 very important chapter. And there's some things I want to use to annotate. Well, not annotate. Well, it is part of the annotation, kind of. But there's things I need to get before I get to that chapter, because that chapter 13 of Twilight, is one of my favorite things ever written. I just adore it so freaking much. And we'll get to that when I read that part, but I'm just so excited to get there. So the cat's out of the bag. We know Edward's a vampire, and we're just rolling with it. So yeah, I'm going to get back to reading, and I'll see you guys on the next check-in. All right, so I am here with another update. I've been really bad. I can't remember the last thing I talked to you about was. I think it was after Port Angeles. Was it? Yes. So, pretty much all that's gone on is Edward and Bella trying to get to know each other a lot better. There's a chapter called Interrogations where pretty much Bella first interrogates Edward about his life and about what it's like being a vampire. And we get some half answers because a lot of that comes later. And then we have the rest of the chapter of Edward getting to know Bella. And he asks all these questions. And this is all the details pretty much that Bella glosses over in here are in Midnight Sun. That was one of the very first things that made me super emotional when I first read Midnight Sun. Actually, I've only read it once, but when I read Midnight Sun, one, because it was the first time being back in the Twilight world since it's been a while up until that point. But then getting to know Bella and to know all of her likes, dislikes, and her opinions on things was just really, really, really nice to see. Because we didn't get any of that in here. So it was nice to get to know Bella a little bit more. And also, I'm wearing an Edward t-shirt. I thought it was pretty fitting. So, what else was I going to say? We had an iconic moment. Unless you read the book, you wouldn't know about this. But there's a scene in biology where it's literally the first page of Complications where Bella and Edward are in their biology class, and their teacher brings a TV in. They're just gonna watch a movie that day, and he turns the lights off, and there's this whole passage about the electric current that goes through Bella and Edward and how potent it is. And you pretty much can cut it with a knife. And I was sitting here thinking, I think this is probably my introduction to sexual tension, because I felt it. I felt that spark of electricity, and I felt it then too. I remember because I was jarred by it, by how much it made me happy. And I was only 14 at the time, so that's fun. And then we continue to hear about Bella and about Edward asks her if she wants to go to Seattle, or if she wants to spend the day with him. Of course, we know, well, if you've read the book before, you know where they're going to go. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. I love them. Edward and Bella are life. I fucking love them. I will forever love them. And then we had one of my favorite quotes. It's Edward talking about Twilight, which I wonder if this passage is where they got the title from, because I know Stephanie Meyer originally had the book named Forks, and they made her change it to something else, and now it's iconic. So I wonder if this is, I'm pretty sure this is where it's from. I'll just do some reading for you guys. So the passage is, "It's twilight," Edward murmured, looking at the western horizon, obscured as it was with clouds. His voice was thoughtful, as if his mind were somewhere far away. I stared at him as he gazed unseeingly out the windshield. I was still staring when his eyes suddenly shifted back to mine. "It's the safest time of day for us," he said, answering the unspoken question in my eyes. "The easiest time, but also the saddest in a way. The end of another day, the return of the night. Darkness is so predictable, don't you think?" He smiled wistfully. "I like the night. Without the dark, we never see the stars." I love that line. It's just, when people say Stephanie Meyer can't write, they weren't paying attention, because I think that whole passage is so beautiful. So yeah, that's the update. We're getting close to chapter 13. Like I said, I do have to slow down because I just ordered my stickers that I need for chapter 13, and they won't be here until Saturday. So it's currently Thursday night. But I'm still having lots and lots and lots of feelings. All right, so I'm about to go to bed. It's 10 o'clock. I gotta get up early for work. But I'm having the time of my life. And starting this series, or rereading this series, was one of the best decisions I could have made. Just because I'm excited to pick up a book and read right now. So yeah, that's the update. I will see you guys in the next one. Good morning, everybody. It is currently Saturday, and I have no plans today, except I think I'm gonna go to Bath and Body Works with my mom to see if they have their fall Halloween collection out. I haven't actually splurged at Bath and Body Works before, but they have a lot of vampire stuff this year, and we know I love vampires, so I'll be doing that sometime today. But this morning I'm actually trying Dunkin' Donuts for the first time. I bought a coffee and I bought a breakfast sandwich. So we'll see how that goes. My order is, well, the drink order is a Lachlan special from Lachlan at Locke's Library. I'll leave her channel down below. She's amazing. But anyway, so she always gets in butter pecan, oat milk, iced coffee. So that's what I got. I've never been a giant butter pecan fan. I feel like that's such a Texas flavor. It's like a staple here in the state for whatever reason. So we'll see how it goes. I really wanted the salted caramel. I love salted caramel, but if this goes well, maybe I'll try that next time. But anyway, I have some updates for you guys. So I did read some of Twilight yesterday, and I will talk about this after I try my food because I'm a little hungry right now. So once the food gets here, I will try it on camera, and I'll let you guys know how it goes, and then we can discuss Twilight after I have been satisfied. So I will see you guys when the food gets here. Alright, so here is my iced coffee. I have butter pecan swirl with oat milk and Splenda. I hope this is good. I'm gonna be sad if it's not.
So I went ahead and included it. It currently has 72,675. So despite only just recently coming
tasty.
ratings, the average rating currently is 4.07.
Yeah, that's good. Good choice, Lachlan.
A few moments later.
Alright, now that I got breakfast taken care of, let's talk about Twilight. So, I do have a sticky note again. So let me get that out of here real quick. And basically what we've talked about is, once again, Edward and Bella just kind of getting to know each other more. We had chapter 11 called Confessions. Actually, I lied. Chapter 12 is called Confessions. No, chapter 12 is called Balancing. God. We had our first interaction with Billy Black, who, is Jacob's father. He is one of the elders on the reservation. He inadvertently warns Bella, or at least makes it aware that he's suspicious of what's going on between her and Edward. And we know that's going to come into play a little bit later. And basically, once again, Edward asks Bella questions about her life, and she's like, there's no way he needs to know all this about me. But he's super fascinated with her, which he has pointed out a couple of different times. Edward is planning on taking Bella to a special place. So he's leaving the school early to go hunt with Alice, so he's not thirsty, or so he can stay in better control. We had our first interaction with Alice, and we all love Alice. She's a very wonderful character. We didn't get much of her right now, but just from what I know about Alice, I love her so much. And she's the most supportive sibling to Edward right now through this whole thing about him with him and Bella. And you get a lot more of this in Midnight Sun again. There's a lot of context there. And once we get to Midnight Sun, I'll be able to explain my feelings a little bit better. But one of my favorite parts is, and I kind of decorated it a little bit. Sorry, there's a police car going by. There's this part of Bella rode to school with Edward again, and he needs to get her truck and bring it back. So he leaves this note that says, "Be safe," and it's just iconic. I love it. Then we get to Saturday in the book, and we have the introduction to my favorite chapter in the whole saga, and that's the meadow. So the meadow is important for very many different reasons. The first being it's the conception of the Twilight story. The meadow is the scene that Stephenie Meyer had a dream about. It's pretty much word for word of what she saw in her dream. And it's what gave us our characters. It gave us this foundation to build this wonderful story on. And also, it's really our big emotional climax of the book, because we get Edward being his most vulnerable, which is always nice to see, because he's pretty closed off for the first half of this book, and rightfully so. But it's nice to see him let loose a little bit more and to open his heart to Bella. And this is where they proclaim their love for each other, and it's just wonderful. I just love the vibe. I just love how innocent and pure it is, because they both really don't know how to do this. It's their first time falling in love, and there's a sweet naivete and, like I said, innocence to this conversation, even though there is danger here, because Edward is a vampire and Bella is his brand of heroin, if you will. And so it's just the tensions there, the emotions there. It's just pretty much a perfect chapter, in my opinion. We get some of the most iconic lines from the series in this chapter, including and so the lion fell in love with the lamb, and like I just said, the brand of heroin. And it's really nice when Edward gets vulnerable, because it's kind of hard to read. It's hard to read him, I should say. And it's nice to be able to kind of get a feel on what he's feeling, because because we're reading from Bella's point of view. She's in love with Edward, and she's infatuated with Edward, but sometimes Edward doesn't come off that way, even though we know he loves her and we know that he's obsessed with her just as much. It's hard to tell sometimes because he thinks of himself as a selfish monster because he knows he can't stay with her. He knows that he's dangerous for her, but he loves her too much and he's intrigued with her too much and he's in too deep. So he can't leave. So that brings up a complication to their relationship, of course. But also, like, Bella's blood sings to him differently than everyone else's, which is crazy to think about because when they first meet in the biology lab, things could have ended so differently. And we do see it play out in Edward's head in Midnight Sun, which was really great to see, honestly, because you know that he has an intense reaction to Bella in this book, but you don't know just how intense it is until you read that book. And I'm sorry I'm talking about Midnight Sun so much, but it's happening in the same timeline. We're following the same characters, so it's kind of hard not to compare. But yeah, chapter 13 is just absolutely wonderful. And then we have their first kiss as well, which is swoon worthy to say the least. And we get Edward, a running joke, no pun intended, in the series is Bella being scared of Edward running. He puts her on his back and he speeds through the forest, and she's not a giant fan of that, which is crazy because I feel like I would be doing that all the time. I just think that would be so much fun. And that's pretty much where we left off, is after the meadow. It was still just as wonderful this time around as it was when I first read it. Yeah, I'm very happy with my enjoyment of the chapter because, you just never know once you get older if you're going to love the same things, and I definitely still love this quite a bit. Was there anything else I was supposed to talk about? No, that was pretty much it. So I'm going to get back to reading, and I'll check in with you guys later. I might take you with me to Bath & Body Works. I don't know. I might just do a haul when I get back. So, all right, I'm going to get back to reading. I will see you guys in a bit. All right, so it's a little bit later in the day. I've only been reading for a few minutes, or about an hour, I guess. And I want to give you guys another update before I continue on through the day. And we did the whole meadow situation, like I said in the last clip. And then one of my favorite scenes is actually when they spend their first night together. I don't know. I just think it's very sweet. And I know a lot of people have trouble with the fact that Edward has been coming to her room and watching her sleep for months at this point. And that's valid. That's a valid feeling. It's never bothered me. So, I don't know if I'm toxic or I don't know. It's never bothered me just because, he's a vampire. Vampires are creatures at the end of the day. And maybe it's because he's a vampire that I let it pass, but whatever, it's fine. Bella doesn't worry about it, so I'm not going to. And yeah, I really enjoyed their first night together. It's very sweet. And the difference between Edward pre-Meadow and Edward post-Meadow are like night and day. He's laughed. He's been very affectionate towards her. And I think he does talk about this in the chapter I just read, where he's made his decision and he's going to stick to his decision. And that just changes his whole mindset on everything. So I do like that. And Bella's already, all in and trying to, because this is all new for her as well, obviously. So she's just trying to find her groove and how to be in love. And it's going to take some time, of course. But I just really love like I was talking about in the meadow, the innocence, and that feeling is very prevalent in this chapter as well, and I do enjoy that very, very much. It's just so sweet. And I know a lot of people aren't going to think that way, and that's okay, but I'm just all in on this relationship. I don't know what else to say except I really, really enjoy it. And now we're going to go visit the Cullens. So that should be a fun time. But I'm actually going to be going to Bath and Body Works like I was talking about earlier here shortly. So I probably won't get a ton of reading done. But my goal is to maybe finish this today. I don't have that much left. A little over 100 pages. So we'll see if I'm able to do that. But because I really want to get this vlog up. It's already over an hour, and I've already cut down quite a bit, so we're just gonna see what happens. But anyway, that's the update, and I will see you guys later. All right, everyone, so I just got back from Bath and Body Works, and the one we went to was such a nightmare. It's in the middle of a shopping mall. Oh my god, everyone and their mother was out. It was crowded. I was getting claustrophobic. I had to sit in a car line for a good 15 minutes before I was able to leave. I'm sweaty, I'm irritated, but we're home now in air conditioning. It's wonderful, and I wanted to show you guys some things I got. First of all, something that I got from Amazon. It's not from Bath and Body Works. It is for my Twilight book. So I bought something specifically to put in chapter 13, and if I can get this open, I'll show you guys what it is. So, like I said, the meadow is my favorite chapter in Twilight, and there's a bunch of really beautiful violet flowers that are in the meadow. So I bought some purple flower stickers to kind of just help make the mood in the book. So I'm excited to put those in the book. So let me get to Bath and Body Works now. First off, I needed some lotion, so I got me some graphite hand lotion. It smells really good. I don't ever splurge on like stuff like this, so this was very different for me. And then, okay, everything else except, I'm trying to get the stuff that's not themed first. So we got the lotion, and then I got this wallflower, which is like an inset for fragrances in your apartment. So I got Wicked Vanilla Woods from the, it'll focus, from the Halloween collection. It smells really good. And then they had a sale on candles, 2 for $24 for their 1 wicks. So I bought this one. It's a eucalyptus spearmint, and it's for stress relief. And it smells really, really good. Oh, it's just very soothing. And then the reason why I went is because, like I was just telling you guys, they have their Halloween stuff out. And I bought a few things from their Vampire Blood collection, which I'm super excited about. It is on theme for the vlog, so I wanted to go ahead and show you guys. So I'm a sucker for hand sanitizer. I love hand sanitizer. I'm addicted to it. So I got their Vampire Blood sanitizer, and I'm gonna go ahead and put some on. Very refreshing. Oh, that was kind of a strong whiff, but oh, that smells so good. And I went ahead and got the Vampire Blood hand soap. And then, of course, I got the Vampire Blood candle. So, to help with the mood, I will be lighting this tonight. And I think I'm gonna do a face mask. I'm gonna kind of do like a self-care night, because I'm not going over to hang out with family or anything this evening. So I'm just gonna chill and read my book, and we'll see where the night takes us. So I wanted to show you guys this stuff, and I'll get back to reading soon, and then I'll update you guys with what I've read. Happy Sunday, everybody. It is finally time for me to close out the vlog. I finished Twilight last night. So, where did I leave off at? Oh, we were meeting the Cullens. So, that's always a fun scene for me because it's where we get Edward playing piano. We get Bella's lullaby, which I wish had more context in the films. It just is kind of there with no context. But we at least got that in here, which is always really sweet. And I just love that interaction, their first interactions with Bella, because they're very considerate and very sincere. And I just love them. Carlisle has a very human quality about him that just makes him warm and very easy to be around, and Bella is in tune with that very much. And Esme is a very motherly, loving character, which I wish she had more substance in the scope of the story, but she's a very important pillar in their family dynamic. And then of course we have Alice and Jasper, who are always wonderful, and then Emmett. I love Emmett so much. I love him even more now since reading Midnight Sun. He has quite a large role in Midnight Sun, and I loved him in that. So that just brought an extra element of love to this reread. And of course we had Rosalie, who is my least favorite Cullen, and maybe I'll get a little bit more empathy for her. I do have empathy for her, but I just don't like her attitude towards Bella in the whole situation. So maybe I'll get a new perspective on that with this new reread, but I highly doubt it. I've thought about this for a very long time. And then we had I love the conversation with Edward and Bella in Edward's bedroom. I just think it's a really nice moment between the two, and Edward's very playful, and they're just really happy to be together, and I love that for them. And then we have the iconic baseball scene, which is very quick in here, but in the movie, I had Supermassive Black Hole playing in my head while reading this, and it's always fantastic. Vampire baseball would probably make me want to watch baseball, so there's that. And then we had the inclusion, or introduction, I should say, of the nomadic vampires, who are Laurent, James, and Victoria. And there's a squabble in the field between James and Edward, particularly. And then we find out that James is actually a tracker, which means that the game of hunting the prey consumes him. And it's all he wants, and it's all he thinks about. So Bella, for the immediate future, is in major danger, from James. So they have to come up with a plan to protect Bella. So Bella goes back home to Charlie's and breaks his heart, says that she hates it in Forks and she wants to go back to Phoenix. So to protect Charlie, which is always such a sad scene. It's sad in the movie too, but I think that's mostly because of Billy Burke. So Bella goes to Phoenix with Alice and Jasper. Edward and Emmett and Carlisle are hunting or leading James on a wild goose chase. Same with Esme and Rosalie with Victoria, and who we will see a lot more later. And then we have the infamous ballet studio, where Bella thinks that James took her mother when she came back from Florida, but it turns out that he tricked Bella and everyone the whole time. So Bella goes to the ballet studio where he tells her to be, and it's there that she thinks that she's going to die. And then Edward and family come and rescue her and save her. I really like this scene in the movie too. I think that it was very well done. And then Bella gets bit by James, so she could feel this really intense burning sensation in her wrist. And Edward has to make this decision. Either she becomes a vampire or he has to suck the venom out, which we know would be very, very hard for him since Bella's blood is a huge temptation to him. So Edward sucks the blood out. Spoiler alert. And Bella gets taken to a hospital in Phoenix where they told everyone that she fell down a flight of stairs. And yeah. And then Bella and Edward had this conversation about how it'd be safer for Bella if Edward would just leave and leave her alone, because look what happened. And of course we know that Bella doesn't want that at all. So Edward says that he'll stay if it's for her best interest, which we know is not the same thing. And then we know what happens in New Moon, so that will be a fun time. I'm really dreading New Moon. Ugh, I hate the heartache. It breaks my heart. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. And then we have the prom scene, which is very fun because Edward kind of tricks Bella. Of course, Bella, it's just so funny because they're all dressed up, ready to go, and you would think it's the night at prom and y'all are all dressed up. I don't know why you didn't think that Edward wasn't going to take you to prom. That's just so funny to me. And so we're at prom, and Jacob shows up with a message from Billy, basically telling Bella to be careful and that they'll be watching her, which is kind of a weird message to receive, but Bella takes it. And then we end the book with Bella trying to plead her case about Edward turning her into a vampire, how she wants to be with him forever, and how she wants to be able to protect him as well from any threats that come up in the future. And Edward just wants to live, he just wants to be with her as she is until she passes. And we know that's not gonna sit well with Bella, so that's where the story really concludes. And I still had the best time. This whole experience was so nostalgic and wonderful, and it just made me so happy to reunite with these characters that have meant so much to me for so long, and to go back to my roots, because like I said before, I didn't start obsessively reading until after I read this book, and it completely changed my life and gave me a form of escapism from a life of a lot of heartache, a lot of stress, and a lot of me not having to deal with my own personal demons. I owe a lot to this book, and I think we all owe a lot to this book. The reading landscape today, I don't think it's a stretch to say that it wouldn't be what it is if it wasn't for Twilight. It broadened up the spectrum of books for so many people. I think fantasy romance today would not be where it is if it were not for this book. And I just hate that this book gets so much hate nowadays, and people forget that it was written 20 years ago. And yes, things are different, things have changed, but the sincerity of this book, I think, is something that has stood the test of time. Because Stephanie Meyer just wrote a story for herself. She never intended on publishing it. But when she did, it gave validation to so many people. This was my first instance of seeing what falling in love was for the first time. And it made me fall in love with these characters. It really makes me sad when people talk so much mess about this book. And yeah, it's not for everybody, I guess, but when people make videos about Twilight now, it's usually to talk bad about it. Or when they are reading it, they're like, it's objectively not very good. And it makes me sad because I'm not a critical reader. That's not why I'm here. I'm here to escape. I'm here to go on a ride with characters. I'm here to enjoy a story. And that's what this book does for me. And it was very nice to come back to it after so long and still have that love for it. I was scared that I wasn't going to like it as much anymore. But I still absolutely love this story. And I love this book. And I'm so excited to continue on with the rest of the series for this reread. And yeah. I'm sorry that this went on for so long, but I genuinely just had so much fun. And I'm glad that you guys were able to come on this journey with me. And we still got a few more books to go, so the journey ain't over. But at least for this chapter of the saga, we can now say it's complete. So thank you for watching this video. I hope it was at least somewhat entertaining. I'm pretty proud of this vlog. It's probably the best vlog I've ever made. So I'm happy to have had the opportunity to create something that I feel very good about. And I hope you guys saw how much fun I had. And yeah, I will see you guys next time. Comment below what you thought about the vlog, if this is the type of style of video that you want to see more from me. I'll probably still make them regardless, but it's nice to get some feedback. And let me know what your feelings are about Twilight. Are they complicated, or is it pretty straight and simple? I'd like to know. So I'm gonna go and edit the rest of this video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.